Welcome to another episode of Peers Over Beers, your favorite digital and social evangelist podcast, with your industry veteran hosts, Chris Detzel. This podcast starts now.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another Peers Over Beers. I'm Chris Detzel, and I have three special guests today, and I'm going to let them say their names. So why don't we start with Jeff?
Hey guys, it's great to be here once again. My name is Jephtah Abu, and I'm looking forward to this session.
Great. Jay?
Hey everyone, this is Elango from India, and this is my first ever conversation in Peers Over Beers. Yeah, I'm happy to be here.
Ronald?
Hey everybody, this is Ronald Williams. I'm based in Atlanta, Georgia. Also my first Peers Over Beers, so looking forward to the conversation.
And you guys know this is going to be recorded both on video and audio, right? Okay. So I talked to Jeff several months ago about some big project that he was kind of working on, and some things that he mentioned to me was, hey, look, there's way more communities going on, one in the Black community and also just in the outside of the US, there's lots of great communities going on. And there was some big project that you guys are working on that he told me a little bit about, but he didn't go in depth. And, some stuff really happened over the last several months that you guys, I know, wanted to get on Peers Over Beers. And I wanted to kind of listen to more of what you guys are working on, what you're doing, some of the goals and those kinds of things. So I'm really excited that you guys are here. And I don't know who wants to kick it off. Maybe it's Jeff, and then we kind of go around the room, if you will, the virtual room, and we talk a little bit about the project and things like that. And by the way, it's all things community, right? So let's get this going.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to be here once again. I feel like I'm the oldest person in the room.
I'm probably the oldest person, but yeah.
Exactly. You are the oldest person followed by me. So version 2, or let me just start with version 1.
Yeah.
Like before I started talking, Ronald said he sent me 10 copies and he sent me 30 copies. Like when I saw the resource, my first thought was we can do better. And quick one, I'm sure that version 2 will be the same thing. When we start reviewing, we'll probably say we can do better. But yeah, we did something unexpectedly. Like I started getting comments and requests from people I've never heard of before. Like people in Pakistan, people in Russia, people in Iceland, in Norway. And I'm like, whoa, there's a community manager in Russia. There's a community manager in places I've never heard of. And everyone was like, I needed this resource to enter the industry, because in the community industry right now, there are a lot of resources, but they are all scattered. That's the truth. You don't have one centralized place where you can find a podcast, where you can find blogs, where you can find people to reach out to. And that was something I've never seen. So when we were building version 1, subconsciously, we didn't know that we're also creating a community for ourselves, because most people are in our community now, they're expecting us to release version 2, and we're like, okay, we are coming. So I think one thing we did was we highlighted communities outside the US. Like Ronald said, I know about on LinkedIn, you have 4,000 community managers in Nigeria. But if you check any reports, you will see Nigeria is 0.1, or you never even see any report of any community manager in Nigeria. And it's crazy, because where is this disconnect coming from? You have so many community managers in Nigeria, but they are not offered global positions. So I think that's something we are subconsciously trying to do, give a voice to community managers in underrepresented countries. And the team is amazing. I'm in Nigeria, Jay is in India, Ronald is in America, and everything we have done is virtually. We have never met in person, but that passion to amplify underrepresented voices is sort of connecting us together. And here we are.
By the way, the beauty of technology.
Exactly, the beauty of technology. And here we are talking about a book that we just collaborated on, and we are still building and building as well.
So it's funny you say that, because it just reminds me of, it probably doesn't matter what country you're in, but in these cases, when you have folks like CMX and things like that, they do a great job of, putting out reports and things. But, oftentimes, you don't see what's outside of what's in your face. You just see hey, there's all this stuff going on in the US and we just don't hear a lot of stuff going on. Well, it's because, CMX is a US company and we do focus a lot on the US. Not to say that, they don't care about outside of that, but we're all kind of biased to where we live and really focused, right? And so I love how, this team right here kind of did some additional research and found, like you said, in Nigeria, lots of different communities that, 4,000, that just sounds like a lot, So, and so version 1, there's, you mentioned that there's some interest, and they couldn't wait to get out to version 2. I don't know who wants to talk about this, but help me understand, like, one is, I'm thinking about, how did you get this groundswell of people just interested? You just start reaching out to people, and then all of a sudden, all these, and then 2, I'm curious, when you say communities can be different things to different people. So you have online communities, you have, people meeting together, about, different kind of things, it could be a running community, it could be all, can you be specific? It could be a B2B community, a B2C community. It could be, just I have a running group, a community of runners, here in the Dallas Fort Worth area. And I have almost 4,000 people in my community, right? That are on this online Facebook group. And, we don't get together, we just do online, but there's another community that's DDR community, that's Dallas Dirt Runners. They do get together for events. They also, it's a Facebook group, and things like that. So one is, it would be really cool to understand what types of communities are you talking about? Because, there's all kinds of communities, maybe it's all of them, I don't know. And then 2, kind of that groundswell of, hey, we got all these people interested. And then what does version 2 look like? I don't know who wants to kind of talk a little bit about that, but.
I think Ronald should take this.
Yeah, I was gonna say, so in regards of like building up that momentum, I think the first time that we identified some sort of like social proof to what we wanted to do was when we announced that we were going to do this book. And at this stage, as I told you before, like we had that 10-page PDF of like resources that we put together, but the amount of folks that were like commented on the post, like me and Jeff were talking back and forth, like, hey, have you ever received this type of traction on like anything you posted on LinkedIn? He's like, I've never seen this before. Like I think like up to like 40 to 50 plus comments from people, 100 to 150 likes and celebrations on the post. And at that point, we were just kind of like, okay, we feel the pressure now. Like people are obviously looking forward to this type of resource. How can we leverage it and maximize it? And I think that was one of the things that helped us keep accountability as we created this project. The other part that helped build that momentum was the amount of folks that we asked to contribute to the project. So it gave a lot of folks just ownership of it. When we had that second revision process, we asked literally, most of our community network, hey, can you come give us some revisions? Can you give us some feedback? So that way, when we released the book, they mentioned their contribution within the comments, or they would share it, letting people know like, hey, I helped out with this. And that was really like the word of mouth process that we were able to leverage in the promotional part. Because I mean, we didn't have any marketing budget or anything like that. So, getting to the, 500 downloads that we were able to get on version 1 was literally just folks that contributed, helped out to the book, and then also just wanted to support this new community resource we wanted to bring to fruition.
So it's a huge groundswell of like just community managers interested, downloading, commenting somewhere. I guess you guys put it on LinkedIn or somewhere so that they can, by the way, what's the book called?
The Community Builder's Guide.
Cool. And version 1, you had a lot of downloads, 500, you said, and then version 2 is out.
Version 2 is actually going to be out end of July.
Oh, okay. See, that's really cool. I kind of wonder how many people will be downloading that. That'll be maybe in August or so. You guys come back.
Oh yes, definitely.
Yeah.
We're expecting to do a lot of traction for this one. We've personally just like invested a lot more resources into this.
Okay.
Like we brought in like a designer for this one to give like that better aesthetic for folks that are experiencing the book, and also bringing in some research assistants to help us like dive deeper into the content and concepts that we discussed in version 1. So like we're super excited for this version and just to get that feedback from folks.
Yeah, I like to add one thing.
Go ahead, Jay.
So one thing what Ronald told, like I'd like to add one thing is like the feedback which we got from the version 1. So that made us to create a whole new session for the version 2. So I'm talking about this career session. Usually the people, when they are very new to the community building, right, like whether they are budding professional or so, people, they'll think about this community manager as a single role, but there are a lot of nested roles within that. Like you have community advocates, community evangelists, and a lot more. Even community ambassador programs are there. So we wanted to highlight on the other sub branches of the community managers, and we want to highlight and get the the feedback from the real people, like how is it to working in those particular the community role. So those things we got from the version 1 feedback. So this made us to create a whole new session. And also we talked about one of the pressing issue of today's time, that is the layoff. So we created it's a very huge mini guide, you can say, a guide within a guide, you can say, that it's going to be like one of our like standout point for this version, because we have included like the job rituals, what they have to do, and what are the job boards available, and like how you can come up with this LinkedIn profile, like how we can enhance it. So it's like a whole lot of stuff is going on there, where we talked about this layoff stuff.
Yeah. Thanks, Jay. So Jeff, I kind of wonder, I assume this is part of this book is around community managers that have jobs as community managers. Is that right? I just to make sure, and so I'm trying to get kind of.
I think the idea we are trying, sorry for cutting it short, but the idea we are going with is for every book we release, we are looking at community professionals or community people that are interested in building communities, because we don't want to try and like segregate and say, okay, this is just for community managers. Like, I think one session I'm really excited for is interview questions, like interview questions and answers. Like, we got a lot of feedback on that for like, we need interview questions and answers for community managers. So these are people that are actually interested in becoming community managers, and also people that are community managers. Because something that Ronald missed out is we're actually partnering with a lot of brands, which you will see soon, like a lot of communities that are known, and we can't wait for like people to also see what we are trying to build as well.
That's exciting stuff. I think that, you've the last couple of years, you've really seen the community market take off here in the US specifically, but it's obvious that you guys say, hey, look, this is bigger than just the US. There's community, the community role is taken off all over the world, and so I assume that's what you're trying to say, or partly, and saying, look, and you're trying to highlight some of those things. Is that right, Ronald?
Yeah,
I want to call you Ron.
It's all good. And I think to add to that, it's really just the importance of the visibility and reputation of community, because that also defines like the conversations we have. Like if all is American based or Asia based or Nigeria based community, you're kind of missing the grand scale of like how communities globally impacting the world, So I think that representation and diversity was like the initiative that really sparked our interest in this project. And now at this point, we're just trying to scale the amount of visibility we're able to offer folks, and also the other organizations that are doing great work but may not have the marketing budget to reach all these areas, or the YouTube channel to post all the work that they're doing. We just took that initiative to give them that space and create that space for folks that are doing the work.
That's really cool. So this book's going to be out in the end of July. Is it just free, or does it cost anything, or what's the?
Yeah, so this version, we're actually trying something new. So we are going to have it free just because we just like to give the information away. But we are going to have the contribution option just closer to the end of the book. If you did enjoy the book, if you'd like to see another version, the more investment we get into it, the more resources we can provide. So that's just kind of the model we're going to be using for this book. And then for V3, we have a lot planned. So if those contributions go well, we're going to be pretty excited.
How do you guys do your day jobs and then just this book? I mean, it seems like a lot of work.
Yeah, we're actually in Slack right now. Like, so we're meeting on Sunday, right? Because like we have like this honorary Sunday meeting. Like before we release the book, we always like meet on a Sunday. But but yeah, it's just been a lot of planning, a lot of communication, like I think for Jay right now, it's probably evening. I'm like waking up to drink coffee. So like, just as much planning as we can do. And then also just like the self-care portion of it, like if you can't make it to the Slack message, no problem. Just get to it when you can. And just, be respectful of each other's boundaries and time. And I think that's what's been, helping us have the day jobs and also being able to leverage these projects as well.
Feels like you guys have something here, because it's a little bit different than, I want to say it's different. It's different in the sense of you guys are going outside of the US to really kind of, say, hey, look, there's communities out here, and then kind of say, and I don't know what the book's about yet, and I'm certainly interested in at least downloading the first 10 pages and reading it and things like, and I'll be smarter next time, trust me. But it's different in the sense of you're going outside of the US and you're really kind of evangelizing those kind of communities and things like that. Because I would say that just from over the last couple of years, like in India, you're seeing the community management role take off. Israel, I've seen kind of the community management thing take off. Now, Nigeria, I mean, that's awesome that it's been taken off. I mean, if you have 4,000 people or whatever, so obviously it's not just new. It can't be new. And so some of these places I'm just hearing about. So that's, bringing a focus to that is intriguing to me. And it's something that I did wonder for the longest time. I was like, are we just doing this in the US? Like, I don't really, when I talk to people on Peers Over Beers, most of these people are from US, and in general, we might hire somebody outside of the US because like I run a global community, right? And so there's people in Europe, there's people in different parts of the country that are part of the community that I've built, for a job. But I don't necessarily I haven't hired anybody outside of the US, but people do. But to actually start a community there in some other area besides the US and then kind of manage it from that, you don't hear a lot of, or you don't necessarily hear it here in the US. That makes sense. What did I miss? I'm sure I missed a lot. You got a lot of time left, so.
I think one of the questions you spoke about was like what community means to us.
Yeah.
And I think for me it comes down to the gathering of like a group of people, and that could be online or physical, but with a common initiative or interest in mind, meaning like whatever we're going to accomplish while we're in this group, it's something that we're all striving towards or have aspirations to be a part of. So I kind of just wanted to touch on that before it slipped my mind.
Yeah, I appreciate that. Ronald, tell me, do you run a community today? Okay.
So I actually work for an organization called Cypress.io. We do like web development framework testing. And I work with the ambassador program specifically. So awesome. I'm building within the community that we have in Discord, but then also managing the members and our advocates within the ambassador program.
Great. And Jay, I know you, but I don't know that everybody knows kind of where you work and what you do.
Yeah. So I work for a SaaS-based platform. So it's called KissFlow. And right now I'm into this brand marketing. So we are like starting off a small community in LinkedIn group. So that is specific to different domain, like we are focusing on the digital transformation. So that is what we are just doing it right now. And when you asked about this, how do you manage a full-time job with this community builders, right? I became a night owl, literally.
Well, I feel like most people in India that work for you, I don't know if your company is US based, but or your customers are US based or whatever, unfortunately people in India and other parts of the country are up late at night. I mean, I work with a lot of folks in India, and they're up till 9, 10 o'clock doing stuff. And I'm like, geez, I mean, they're up at 7, 8, 9, 10 in the morning doing stuff. And then they have to kind of, which I feel for you, trust me.
Yeah, we kind of like shifted, all this biological routine, everything.
Jeff.
Yeah.
I mean, we've spoke before, but
Yeah. So basically what I'm doing now is I'm consulting for a company in New York called Meristars Technology. So Meristars Technology is a fintech company that is expanding to Africa. So I'm in charge of like the whole of Africa, in quotes, like trying to expand inside. So basically what Merixas does is it has an app that it simulates how you can trade with stock, how you can like invest in crypto, but without ever spending money. So it's just a simulation app. Like that's what it does in a nutshell. And it's funny because I think you mentioned not sleeping. Like everyone always says I don't sleep, but I don't know why. It's like I'm always working 2/7. And it's crazy because aside from this, we also have events we are doing. We also have like another community. So I feel like when you are passionate about something and you are consistent, it sort of creates like a ladder for you to go up. Like passion and consistency gets you to that level. Like not just passion alone. And I think that the team here is very passionate and we are very, very consistent because it's like on the Slack, I'll just message Jay, can you get this done? And she attends to it. Or I message Ronald, and it's sort of, it's encouraging when you know your team is like really bent on like getting the workout. And I know sometimes I can be quite a perfectionist. Like I want it to always be better. But like Ronald said, you have to be respectful of everyone's time. And I feel like we have spent a lot of time like actually trying to like achieve a goal with this version 2, and which will reach the goal when it's released.
I feel like there's always a perfectionist in a group of people, and that although it can be nerve-wracking whenever when you have to deal with the person, whether that's you or not, I don't know, but I believe that something golden probably comes out of it once it's done. You do have to let go, Jeff, at some point and just say, okay. But to strive for perfection, and you never get there, but it is probably really important because you want it to be really good and you want it to touch the hearts and minds of people, because your passion, there's a lot of people with this passion, right? And so you want it to show that you guys have that passion. And I can tell just talking to the three of you, there's a lot of passion there. I mean, just doing this on your own free time tells me that you guys are meeting on Sundays and you have a Slack channel, and then you get together like this and talk about it, and and you're talking to others, and you've hired people to fucking do this stuff, like it's crazy. Like it's really cool, and to some degree I can relate because I also have some of that passion, right? And I've been doing this Peers Over Beers for almost a little over close to 3 years, I think. And I want to get the word out there. And I think that, having folks like yourself on, Peers Over Beers and just getting the word out there, I'm just one outlet of probably many of the things that you guys are doing, but I think it's important. I think it's fun. It's sometimes though, I'll tell you, like, I have 3 other Peers Over Beers I need to publish. I'm just telling you, like, and I have a passion in running. I have a passion in a lot of different things, and I do this for a living, work, community stuff, and then trying to do this Peers Over Beers. And sometimes like it's not hard to publish a Peers Over Beers, but there's some tactical things that you need to go do. And I'll get to my point in a minute is, I already have this recorded. I've got to cut a little bit of the video, add kind of the opening, and then I got to push out a title. I got to push out a description, and then I got to put it on video and audio, and then I want to promote it. You know what I mean? Like, and so and then I'm like, okay, it only will take me an hour, but I think sometimes I just have that passion. I'll get out 3 or 4 of them. You know what I mean? And then like this last week, I've been trying to get out 2 a week. And this last couple of weeks, I was like, I barely can get out 1. You know what I mean? Like, because even though I might have time, I just want to get on this video game and just veg because, my brain is just mush. So, I would just tell you from experience is that passion don't let that passion just overwhelm you too much. Right now, do what you have to, but you have to take a break sometimes, because it's gonna overwhelm you because it's hard, and it's you'll have other passions too, besides your job and this. 'Cause the last thing you want to do is see this as a job. Maybe you want to get to it as a job. I don't know, but I mean, seriously, like maybe, I mean, some opportunity there at some point, I guess, but I don't know. I mean, that's how I feel as a community leader is that I give back. I feel like peers over beers, but it's not easy to continue to do all the shit myself. You know what I mean? So it's just, but you guys have got this community together, which I love. And Jeff's not the only one doing this, or Jay's not the only one doing that, and Ronald's not the only one. You know what I mean? Like you all are taking turns to do some things, and you're making it bigger and better, which is really cool. Love it. So sorry, I went on a little rant there, but I think, I love what you guys are doing. Anything in the specific book, we have a little bit more time, obviously, but anything specifically in the book that you want to just call out?
Definitely. So during one of our conversations, Jay actually had this great idea that said, hey, we get so much feedback from the community managers themselves. What if we went ahead and actually asked questions to like their super users and their ambassadors? And I think that just added like it was kind of just like the cherry on top of the milkshake for us, right? Because it's like for all these resources that we always do, it's like you always hear from the people that are doing the work, that are, providing the value and the content. But what about the people that receive it? What do they think about it? And I think that's going to give community builders like just this new insight of like what it means to be an ambassador. And hopefully some of them will be able to even maybe build like their super user personas off of these answers and responses, rather than having to go out and do like their own surveys and exhaust their own energy to say, hey, I need 10 to 20 people to let me know how they became a super user. We're just going to put this in a book, and you can take that, create your personas, and have a successful program within your company.
Yeah, actually, I want to add that like Rebecca, so all this credit goes to her from Uncommon. So she was the one first, she came up with this idea. Like she told, so instead of me talking about my community, I want my super users to come on Spotlight and you can approach them. So she was like really like, she came down with us, like she spent a lot of time, and she also like showed like some from Asana tool and so many, right? There's a super users community and they are also like ready to contribute. So like, that was a great support we got from Rebecca. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. Wow. Jeff, anything? You're on mute.
I think one thing we did was, I think the champion program, that's something that is, I've not seen, like highlighting like a community leader in like the space that is actually putting in the work. And like you said, the community space is heavily focused on the US. And there are so many reports to like back it up, like 70% of community managers, or even 75 are from the US. So maybe the other 25 are from other countries. And Nigeria is not even on the 25, which is very, very sneaky, which I called out. Like once someone released a report and they did 70% of community managers in the US and 30% from Canada, from Mexico, from India. And I was like, hey, where is Nigeria on this list? And apparently Nigeria was classified under others with 64 other countries. And reports like this sort of like, to be transparent, they help people they don't help people in Nigeria, they don't help people in like third world countries or underrepresented countries or like countries that are not in the US, because if a hiring manager or a company sees this report, they're like, okay, let's hire from the US. And we have so many community managers in Nigeria. I said 4,000 on LinkedIn, but there are probably more because I get so many messages from community managers in Nigeria, like so many, like, hey, I want to learn, like I've been applying for a job. So I think that champion program is something that I love to see, like highlighting people that are actually making a difference in their community. And you mentioned that which sort of communities are we, like when you say online community, what are we focusing on that in terms of highlight? So we're highlighting community managers in different countries that have actually created a community for community managers. I know that's a tongue twister, but it's like a community for community managers in Africa, we are highlighting it. A committee for community managers in India, we're highlighting it. So that's something we're also trying to like do. I think someone recently started a community for community managers in Ukraine, which was really awesome. Like in terms of what's happening with the Russia war as well. So I think that's something we're trying to achieve as well, like highlighting communities for community managers in different countries.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you see a lot of that. The beauty about community managers is that we love to share. So, and give back and things like that. And I think that's really great, and that's, as you kind of tap into that, you're tapping into the world, right? Like, we know that that's true. What I just said about community managers love to talk to other community managers. We know that's true in the US. We also know it's true in India, or at least I do. But I think it's true everywhere, right? And I mean, we're just people. It doesn't matter where you're from. And because we're so used to trying to get people to speak and talk about things and do things, the one thing that I know is true is that, for example, I want to talk about content strategy or engagement strategy and things like that. A lot of people in my company, most people in my company don't understand that piece, right? So how do I have to get help? Well, I have to get help to talk to people like you, right? Like, and so that's what I do. That's why I have Peers Over Beers. Is there's a lot of reasons. One, selfishly, is because I need to learn, what others are doing. I know what I'm doing, but is it right? Is it wrong? Or there's a lot of different ways to do it. And so I think community managers from all over the world want to do that, because a lot of times they're in that role by themselves, right? And I'm not saying there's not other roles in the world that they're not by themselves, but we're talking about community managers, right? That's what we are. So that's why we talk about it, because that's what we do. And I think it's so interesting. And I still think that the community management role is growing. And I'd be interested kind of in your research, I'll definitely read the book, but is it the same? So as you kind of look at community building, like when you look at B2C and B2B communities here in the US specifically, you're starting to see, head of community, VP of community, then director, or, content specialist or engagement specialist, or, people doing different user group type events or events. And you're seeing that whole kind of, what do you call it? Just, the role all the way from VP down, and then you're starting to see teams. And so it's becoming a bigger role within organizations, rather than just a single role. Now, I'm not saying it's not just a single role, in some organizations, a lot of organizations, but over the last few years, you've seen that kind of grow slowly but surely. And you see it a lot here in the US for sure. I'm not sure I see that yet. Now, maybe your research is different, but I don't see that yet, which is interesting, outside of the US per se. I don't know if that's true, but it feels like it is.
I think it's somewhat true. Yeah. We have very small teams in India. Like they don't invest much for the community team. I think it's still, we need to come up to, we don't have much scope still here in India. So that's one thing we are lagging behind. Yeah.
Jephtah, I kind of wonder, like, is that true, or is that not true? What's, from what you've seen? I'm getting off a little bit, but I'm just curious. My apologies, but that's what happens when you drink too much beer.
Yeah. It's
gotta stay true to the brand.
I just get all over the place.
I feel like there's a late adoption in like other countries, like using Nigeria for an example. Like you have community managers and you have social media managers.
Yeah.
But a lot of companies combine the role in Nigeria. Like you see a lot of community managers actually doing social media work. It's only when it's like maybe a crypto company or an NFT company that you actually see someone handling like a Discord server coming up with strategy. Well, I'll say in the last few months, there has been changes. Like you are seeing community managers actually do community work. And I'll say in the next 2 years, you're going to see like head of communities, you're going to see like chief community directors. But right now there's a late adoption. And some companies are just creating communities because it's the in thing now. So I would say there's going to be a fall, there's going to be a rise. So the fall is a lot of companies are going to like, hey, why do we need communities? But the rise is they're going to see that it's important and more roles will come up there. Everyone says the new thing is now being community-led. but there are I know less than 5 companies that are community-led, because being community-led is like you are giving your community the ownership of your product. Like, hey, what should we do next? And most companies don't do that. And another question is how you know a community is community-led is, sorry for diverting a bit, but I just feel like I should say this. And that way to know if a company is community-led is if the community is not present, will the company die? Using an example, comes up, the community is community club, and it relies heavily on the community.
Yeah.
So if the community is out of there, like the business model will be affected. But most companies can do without their communities, but they need communities. So I would say there's going to be like more adoption and more rules, more specified rules, and more like head of community, head of like community engagement. And yeah, I can't wait for that.
Yeah, I think that when you think about community led, I think you really need to. I think people think of that differently, right? Like there's a lot of definitions of what community led means, right? And so I don't know that there's a great definition of that. I'm not 100% sure. Like I talk about it, I think about it a lot, to be honest. And I kind of wonder, is my company community led? Maybe not exactly, but there's a lot of things we can do to be more of that from my definition. So I think, but I would say that when you look at a B2B company, and they have communities, they're trying to be community led. So it's not that they're not, and I think that if you put parameters around what community led is, and you say, okay, a community led thing is these things, boom, 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 boom. I just don't think there's an industry-wide kind of definition to it. I do think that like ComSOR or whatever they're called now, community-led.growth.com or whatever. I think they're trying to get there, right? And they're probably in CMX and things like that. They're probably the ones to try to define that. They should, since they're a community company, right? So, and I think that we'll get there. So I'm not sure, Jeff, that I completely agree with what you're saying. I'm not saying I disagree either, because I don't know that we exactly know, because I struggle with it, to be honest. Like, well, what is it? What is it? And what am I trying to accomplish with the community-led growth type of community? So I have some ideas and I have some thoughts and I'm trying some things, but do I really know? And can I do this by myself? At my company with 500 people. You know what I mean? Like, so you have to get people on board. You've got to get people thinking about whatever that definition is of community-led growth and stuff like that. So look, this has been a really great conversation, and you guys are doing something really fun, really cool, and different. It's different because it's not necessarily just focused on the US. Actually, it's not focused on the US at all. It's outside of that, finding communities. What are they trying to do? And if I'm wrong, you tell me, but and that hey, communities exist outside of the US, and let's get the word out. Let's talk about it more and get these people out there, because I'd love to talk to more people like you guys, that are outside of the US. As a matter of fact, I talked to somebody, where's she from? A company called Mind Valley a couple times. She's awesome, and she's outside of the US, right? She's not even in Europe. So I don't think, but the point is like community is going on outside of, the US, and you guys are making a big point of it. So any last words for anybody?
Oh, Jeff, do you want to mention, we are speaking on Web3 in this one. Do you want to talk about that a little bit before we wrap up?
Yeah, so as someone that's entered the Web3 space, I would say there are a lot of buzzwords, like a lot of buzzwords, and it's met a lot of like scrutiny, and it's met a lot of like skepticism. But we wanted to like actually talk to like community managers that actually are Web3 community managers, because like it's best to hear from the horse's mouth. Like, what do you do? So I think that's something we are highlighting, because most times people come with the approach of, let's write a full article on what Web3 is. And at the end of the day, when you read it, you're like, okay, so what is still Web3? So it's different when you have people that are in this space that are passionate talking about it. So we actually have Web3 community managers that are talking about what they do, like their daily routines, like what's in. And I think that that's very key, because when you have people explain what they do rather than writing an article, it's easier to like digest.
No, I think that's smart. I like that because, look, I think Web3 is real. It's not that I don't believe that, but I don't think anybody knows 100% of what it's going to morph into. It's kind of like Web 2, when you start looking at all these social type things that came with Facebook and Instagram and all these other things that became popular, and nobody knew that. Nobody knew that was coming, and so there's a lot of things we don't know. So it will be interesting to see some of that research that, hey, what are these Web3 people doing? This is a 10-year kind of or longer kind of journey. So we don't know. A lot of shit's going to happen. That's what I do know. And yeah, are things going to change? Yeah, probably, when you think of security and privacy and things like that. And that's why it's changing. And that's why you're starting to see more of this kind of Web 3.0 talk, and so it will be interesting to kind of see some of that research that you guys are doing and also see how it morphs over time. Because I'll be honest, like I just know a little bit about Web 3 and that's it, so we're still in Web 2. We're still trying to get engagement on, the communities today, and what's the best ways to do that, so we got to, it'd be interesting over time for sure. So, well, thank y'all all for coming to another Peers Over Beers. I'm Chris Detzel, and Jeff, go ahead.
I'm Jephtah Abu.
Jay.
I'm Jay.
Ronald.
I'm Ronald Williams.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah, see you.